Let's bring in Congressman Mike Waltz. He's a Republican from Florida. Congressman, about 10 miles from the Polish border, that was the most recent Russian hit. That is a red line, is it not still? I mean, what happens if they cross that line?
Well, if they cross that line, they've crossed into NATO territory. That triggers Article 5, and we are heading towards World War III. And I was pleased to see Jake Sullivan make the president's national security advisor make that clear that if errant missiles fly into NATO territory, that is then fair game for NATO to respond. That base that they struck, actually, I was out in Ukraine last December. The Florida National Guard was conducting training there, and our special operators were conducting training forward. But I expect Putin to continue to increase his attacks on these supply lines of lethal aid coming in from Poland. We have pressed the Pentagon, and they're working hard on it, to start diversifying the places from which that aid and start dispersing to multiple locations, the places from which those aid convoys are flowing in to help the Ukrainian resistance. Last point, Congress continues to push this administration, and it's Republican and Democrat. We actually increased the amount of lethal aid that the president requested. We just increased the defense budget, and we finally got a deal. We've pushed them on Stingers. We've pushed them on humanitarian aid. And now we're pushing them on the MiGs and the S-300 air defense systems to get the Ukrainians everything they need to resist this invasion.
Isn't the MiG deal dead?
I don't think it is. I'm talking to folks in the Pentagon. They're still looking at it. I don't know that it is. I think the S-300, which is a legacy Russian air defense system that some Eastern European countries have, should also be provided. But at the end of the day, the White House has to stop drawing this false distinction and so obsessed with what will escalate with Putin. We need to have him afraid of our escalation. We need to start driving the agenda. And the other piece that has me very concerned is to establish very clear red lines when it comes to chemical weapons and WMD. That they're not, on the one hand, Biden says there'll be consequences, but on the other hand, he says all the things that we won't do in response. Stop telling Putin what we won't do. Get inside his calculus, start deterring him. Right now, he's deterring us.
Congressman, you mentioned that phrase escalation. That's something we keep hearing, a dangerous escalation. Of course, we don't want to escalate anything into a world war again, God knows. But on the other hand, you had a number of strikes in the previous administration. I'm thinking of the strike on the Wagner group in Syria, where over 200 Russians were killed. We didn't seem to be worried about an escalation then. Is there something different? I mean, this is in Europe, not in the Middle East. Is that the difference here in terms of red lines?
Yeah, nobody wants World War III. Let's be clear on that. But Putin will continue to push and push and push as long as you give him space, and until he hits steel, until he hits strength. And to your point, President Trump authorized the bombing of 300 Russian mercenaries that they continued to push, but they were pushing on U.S. forces. He met the bully with force, and the bully backed down. And that's the lesson that this administration hasn't figured out yet.
By the way, that same group, the Wagner group, is now in Ukraine, terrorizing Ukrainians. So they're still around. Congressman, thank you very much.